The investigation moved into the forensic realm. The team worked amidst the charred dust and vaporized oil, searching for clues that survived the flames. The first autopsy, conducted under massive public pressure, revealed two conflicting stories. There was a clear gunshot wound to the head, a quick solution if murder was the sole objective, suggesting an instant death. But what stunned the experts was other evidence: the presence of soot particles and carbon residue trapped deep within the victim's respiratory system. It was the undeniable sign that Naina Sahni was still breathing when the tandoor oven was lit, that she had smelled and inhaled the very smoke meant to be her end. The core enigma emerged, splitting the investigators' beliefs. Was the bullet fired to incapacitate her, followed by the burning as a deliberate act of desecration and cleanup? Or was there a significant time gap between a non fatal shot and the savage act of incineration? The forensic conclusion that the victim suffered thermal trauma while still alive transformed the case from a common murder into an act of premeditated cruelty, a fact that would haunt the courtroom. This contradiction, the gunshot wound and the evidence of being burned alive, became the dark heart of the entire case, a forensic statement that screamed of unimaginable cruelty and a profound malicious intent to destroy all traces. The demand for a second autopsy came naturally, driven by a wave of skepticism and calls for accountability. Media pressure required a re-verification of every fracture and every speck of soot. This more meticulous process confirmed the gunshot wound and established the bullet's trajectory, suggesting a close-range struggle, not a planned execution from a distance. Re-evaluating the head injury became crucial. Was it definitively fatal, or was it possible the victim had only been rendered unconscious? This ambiguous forensic answer opened the door for provocative interpretations. Meanwhile, DNA experts faced a monumental challenge: extracting genetic material from tissue that had undergone extreme thermal degradation in an oven reaching hundreds of degrees. They had to filter relevant DNA from a chaos of charred molecules. Their success confirmed Naina's identity, closing the door on any defense claims, doubting who was in the oven, but it didn't explain how she ended up there. Her identity was revealed, but the motive remained shrouded in smoke. Ballistics analysis presented what seemed to be the clearest evidence, yet it was still questionable. The metal projectile recovered from the victim's skull was tested and matched to a firearm seized from the suspect's circle. The microscopic scratch marks on the bullet, the weapon's fingerprint, were a perfect match. This physical evidence created a strong bridge between the suspect and the deadly act. But the defense lawyers were ready. They didn't attack the match itself, they attacked the scenario. Could the weapon have been used by someone else? Could the bullet have been fired in self-defense? Ballistics identified the weapon, but it was psychology that had to fill the void of criminal intent, and that became the battleground in court. They challenged the chain of custody, proposed hypotheses of contamination from the dirty kitchen environment, and tried to weaken every link connecting Sushil Sharma to the act. Even the smallest details, like the type of oil used in the oven, were examined to see if they could have accelerated the burning and covered up evidence. In the courtroom, the fight became a battle between scientific certainty and the art of planting doubt. Sushil Sharma's lawyers didn't doubt forensic science, they doubted its practitioners and protocols. They questioned the oven's temperature at the time of the fire, the potential for cross-contamination of samples at a messy crime scene, and the validity of DNA techniques on material that was almost charcoal. They forced every forensic expert to prove flawlessly that their evidence was undeniable truth, not mere interpretation. They even presented a counter expert who questioned whether the soot in the lungs could have come from the restaurant's smoky environment. Every doubt, every procedural loophole was magnified and blown into the courtroom, forcing the judge and jury to grapple with scientific certainty versus fallible human possibility. It was a cold legal game, where emotion had to bow to the rules of evidence.